Hey everybody, this is Lowly Jane, animal communicator and energy healer from animals-speak.com, and you're listening to Lowly Jane Animal Communication Podcast, the show that promises to open your mind and heart to the amazing world of animal communication, energy healing, and what I like to call interspecies therapy. Thanks for joining me. In today's episode, I'll be dedicating the whole episode to canines, including dogs, wolves, hybrids, coyotes, and even jackals. We've chosen to have a close companionship and relationship with these amazing animals. Our domesticated dogs have a special place in our heart. I'll be talking about specific health and behavioral issues our dogs and other canines may face, and how animal communication and energy healing can help. Both animal communication and energy healing are cost effective, but also can greatly help with your dog's behavioral and emotional issues, including traumas, injuries, pain, illness, and disease. If you've listened to any of my other podcasts, you will know that my episodes are both practical and educational, but also very deep and spiritually enlightening. This episode has a lot of guidance on how to holistically address many health and behavioral issues for your dogs, wolves, and other canines, and how it relates to you as a pet parent or caretaker. I am excited about today's podcast because there are so many different ways that we relate to and care for our canine friends. Some of us are pet parents and have close relationships with our animals as companions. Some of us are veterinarians, some of us are breeders, and some of us are fosters or help rescue and adoption procedures. And don't forget about our service dogs and police canine partners. Canine caretakers are all so different from each other in their canine interactions, but for some reason we have chosen to dedicate part of our lives and work with these divine canines. Our domestic dogs have a profound connection with us, and by bringing us gifts of service to help us with our lessons, but be prepared to look in the mirror, especially if you have a close companionship relationship with your animal. Be prepared to look in the mirror because many of our animals' issues are a mere reflection of our own lives or someone in the family. This is not necessarily true for caretakers or fosters, but it's more for pet parents who have a close relationship with their animal. And as I mentioned, the word canine encompasses not only dogs, but also wolves, hybrids, coyotes, and jackals. Regardless of your relationship and interaction with them, consider it a gift to be able to work with these divine beings. After all, dog is God spelled backwards. I hope this podcast broadens your perspective on our unique connection with dogs, wolves, and other canines. And please keep an open mind and heart and stay with me for the entire podcast while we explore solutions for behavioral, physical, and health issues, as well as deep diving into some spiritual aspects as I share some great stories and testimonials. First, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a certified international professional animal communicator and pranic healer. I offer remote and in-person animal communication, whether they are alive or in spirit, and energy healing for all kinds of things, including trauma, injuries, pain, illness, disease, behavioral and emotional issues, as I mentioned. And if you've ever wanted to become an animal communicator or even thinking about it, I teach a series of workshops and a certification program, but I teach a beginner workshop, which is Intro to Animal Communication. And by the end of the workshop, which is about 7 hours long, you'll be talking to 2 or 3 animals with client feedback, so you can be confident that you know you're doing it. Anyway, I have an upcoming workshop, January 20th, and you can go to my website, animals-speak.com, to check out the workshop schedules. I also provide one-on-one mentoring for animal communicators that are already out there, but they don't have the confidence So one-on-one mentoring and then workshops. I don't have to tell you of the intelligence of dogs and canines. Did you know that a dog has the same amount of neurons in their brain as we have in our gut, which is called our gut brain? Pretty amazing. Any person who works with dogs and canines knows of their intelligence. Dogs and canines have been shown to be able to do tasks that require very high levels of intelligence, and because of their superior sense of hearing and smell, they can accomplish great tasks that humans are not even capable of. And so we've learned to rely on our canine friends. The first known interspecies communication was during the time of hunter-gatherer society. There was a mutual cooperation between man and wolf. Hunters worked in tandem with wolves to track the scent of prey and then be rewarded with the food. So naturally, we began to form a bond with our canine companions, and eventually, wild wolves were domesticated as dogs to fit our lifestyle. Now, let's explore this connection and deep bond we have with our own animals and how animal communication can play a role. If you're a pet parent and connected with your canine companions, they are a gift to you and are in service to you to help you with your lessons. Do you ever notice your animal is trying to communicate something to you or has started a new behavior? What are they trying to tell you? This is where animal communication comes in. Imagine being able to directly communicate with your dog or canine and find out what is on their mind. That is a remarkable thing about animal communication, and to be able to bridge that gap between what you and your animals are thinking. So, what is animal communication and how can it help? Animal communication is not a psychic reading, it's not intuition, and it's not a guess. It's also not a gift. Animal communication is simply telepathy. And if you listen to episodes 1 and 2, you would learn that telepathy uses thoughts, words, images, and sounds, smells, and feelings, anything to do with the five senses, basically. This is how animals communicate with one another, and it's also an innate ability of the animal kingdom, so we are part of this animal kingdom. And we also have this innate ability that each and every one of us can develop. And I just want to tell you that when you're thinking a thought, animals can hear your thoughts. So clear up the misconception that you can lie to them. You can't tell untruths to animals because they can literally hear your thoughts. That's what telepathy is, hearing thoughts and seeing images and sounds. But they can hear everything you're thinking, regardless of what you say verbally. And that's what animal telepathy is. That's what animal to human telepathy is. And that's what animal communication is, hearing thoughts. So, if you've ever worked with an animal communicator like myself, we are directly communicating with your animal using these thoughts, words, or images, or anything to do with the five senses. So, why isn't everyone telepathic? Well, the problem is we are taught how to verbalize language from the time we're an infant and learn how to speak through words and language, verbalizing, using our throats, instead of using telepathy, which is using our minds. So the innate ability that we all have is not developed at all or nurtured. And in fact, we are repeatedly told that it's fake, that it's not real, and belief or disbelief can play a huge part in your ability to do telepathy. If you don't believe in what you're doing, then you're going to have a very difficult time doing it. And I can assure you, from doing this for a long time now, not only is it real, but it dates back to the ancient Aborigines. And the ancient Aborigines used to use telepathy with their village tribe to contact each other if there was a problem where they had to come back to the village. So they would get a telepathic message to come back to the village that there was a problem. So that's when the earliest dated records that I could find are with the ancient Aborigines. But interestingly enough, telepathy is currently being scientifically studied and used by the military in many different countries. So, what are the benefits of and uses of animal communication and energy healing with canines? Well, here's how I can help. Animal communication and energy healing can be done remotely. That's one of the most remarkable things about it. I can work with anybody all over the world in any location. That's why I do a global podcast, because I have a lot of clients in other countries. So this can be done remotely. So can energy healing. I do not have to be standing in front of your animal. It's the most shocking. And if you've never done energy healing or anything like it, it's hard to believe. It's hard to grasp. But I've been doing energy healing for years and years and years and years remotely. And then I started the animal communication. So just trust me when I say it can be done remotely. And it's astounding that I can do an energy healing and have them in top shape in one session when they live, 3,000 miles away or something. It still is amazing to me. But yes, that's the truth of energy and telepathy. You do not have to be in the same space, the same country, nothing. So I can communicate with your canines and help resolve issues from anywhere in the world, including the healing part. The next most important benefit, I would say, is finding the root cause of issues. Whether it is physical or behavioral, I can do this by directly communicating with the animal via telepathy, and it's important to know what they are trying to show or tell you. This is really important. You cannot bypass the root cause. Anything else you do is putting a Band-Aid on it. When your dogs have specific behaviors or a new or worsening physical or health condition, you can be sure they are trying to communicate something to you. And many times we have a lot of judgments of what we think is going on, but when I actually talk to the animal directly, and it's not that at all. It may not be even close to what you thought it is. And sometimes it's not even about you, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But by directly communicating with them, I can ask them directly exactly what they are trying to communicate to you and what is the cause of the behavior or health issue. So to me, this is extremely important, and this is why animal communication is so effective, because I am finding the actual root cause of something. The second most important benefit is to find out what they need. This is very important. So finding the root cause and then finding out what they need from their persons or caretakers to resolve the issue. What do they need to feel better? I can also address if your dog is mirroring you or someone in the family. Many times the issues at hand are not their issue, but they are merely reflecting you and can provide amazing insight and information on what you need to work on about a specific situation or even a family dynamic. Another great benefit is animal communication and energy healing is very cost effective and efficient. Clients have shared with me that they save a lot of money and time by doing an animal communication and or healing session without the need for costly diagnostic procedures or expensive behavioral training. And a lot of times, diagnostic procedures are cost prohibitive. Even if the veterinarian and you want to do it, it's, quite pricey a lot of times. And so even the veterinarian will just use their, best judgment in doing a treatment, but they may not have the proper diagnostic procedures done that you would have on humans. And then, so animal communication and energy healing is ultimately extremely cost effective and efficient. Even if it seems expensive at first, it will save you a lot of time and a lot of money. The next benefit is I can provide many details you can share with your veterinarian that can help you with their diagnosis and treatments. So if there is a physical or behavioral issue that needs to be addressed, I can find out the underlying root cause of an issue and get many important details, such as when it started, how long they've had it, what the sensation is, or what the behavior is all about, whether it's acute or chronic, a pain level, what they need to feel better or to change the behavior. I can also provide a full set of notes for you that can be shared with your veterinarian. And I also provide suggestions and solutions at the end. So, based on your canine's needs, I can make suggestions like changes in routine or diet. I am also a dietitian. I provide suggestions for aromatherapy for all kinds of animal issues, but especially the canine and the dog issues, and also common things that they have. And then provide energy healing or other holistic solutions. Another amazing thing about animal communication is that I can talk to animals in spirit that have already crossed over. The one I am communicating with is your animal's soul, not their physical body, which is just a vessel. Listen to episode number 7 on talking to animals in spirit, and also the episode on soul animals. I'm not sure which episode that is. They really wish to communicate with us, and after all, you've chosen them to be a part of your life. Ever wonder why? They are teachers for you of unconditional love and selfless service. Now, let's talk about some common canine physical and health issues I can help with. So, some common physical issues, which you are well aware of if you have a dog, wolf, or other canine, are skin infections, including hot spots, and then allergies, ear diseases, urinary tract infections, vomiting and diarrhea, parasites, canine parvovirus, distemper, kennel cough, dental issues, arthritis, obesity, benign tumors, soft tissue injuries, and poisoning. In fact, I had a client with a dog that described to me how he bit a toad, and it was really helpful because then we can give that information to the vet and she could treat him for whatever they treat with for poisoning. So initially they had no indication as to what had happened. And although your dog does not, of course, understand medical terminology, they can describe what they're feeling with all the details, as I mentioned, and I can also feel it for myself because I'm empathic. So I can feel the actual feelings and describe to you what it actually feels like. But most importantly, I can find the root cause and what they need to feel better. I can also ask them if they're open to receive an energy healing or aromatherapy, or if they'd like to go back and get treated with the veterinarian. And I also offer remote and in-person pranic healing sessions for all animals, and we'll talk about more on this later. For physical and health issues, as I mentioned, I can find out valuable details you can share with your veterinarian. I can also do a body scan to get a pain level from 1 to 10. And as I mentioned, I'm empathic, so I can feel the exact pain and sensations from the animals. And if you listen to my equine episode, the last one, episode 13, I talked about a horse that dropped me to the ground with its pain, and I couldn't walk. It was a lame horse until the person agreed to do a healing, and then the pain came right out of me. It was crazy. But this detailed information can also help me when I'm doing a pranic healing session on animals. And later I'll read you some client testimonials that booked double sessions of the animal communication with the pranic healing, which I'll talk about why it's so helpful. So what about behavioral and emotional issues, including abuse and trauma? So there's 2 really important things that I want you to understand about your beloved canines. First, did you know that dogs and other canines experience all the range of emotions that humans do? That's right, they experience joy, love, sadness, grief, loss, depression, anxiety, and many more emotions. I used to sing to my dog and he would cry. He would literally have tears running down his eyes. And I know what you're thinking, but I'm a good singer, so those were happy tears. Did you also know that a dog or a canine must have a job? That's right, a job, actual employment. Just like humans, they want to feel needed. They want to feel like they're making a difference in the world and in this lifetime. And remember, our companion dogs are in service to us to help us with our lessons. So if they feel that they have no use, they get listless, they get depressed, just like humans. The jobs may have been assigned to them by a person closest to the animal, or they may have assigned themselves a job based on the role that they had with you in past life incarnations that you had together with your soul animal. So many times it is related to their soul purpose in this incarnation as to what their job is, but not necessarily so. It might be two different things. And when I talk to the animals, I always want to make sure that their job is aligned with their soul purpose. So they're actually accomplishing that. Many clients have asked, what is the difference between obedience training, behavior training, and animal communication? Canine obedience training relies on positive or negative reinforcement training and dominance versus submission. So, from my perspective as an animal communicator, canine obedience or behavioral training is great, but it lacks a deeper understanding of the animal's intelligence and the full range of emotions. And also, remember the mirroring thing. If they're mirroring a human or somebody in the family, you could do all the training in the world and it's not going to make a difference. And let me just say this is really interesting. When I've talked to animals in spirit, more than one animal has told me that they go to human training school. That's right, human training school. And I laugh because we send them to obedience training, right? So I asked them what that is all about. They said, oh, well, I'm going to come back and I have to know how to handle my human. So the irony of it all, that we send them to dog training and they're going to human training school. It's very, very ironic. At first glance, it might look like your dog or canine is defying you or trying to exert dominance. But if you look deeper, the animal is without a doubt trying to tell you something by their behaviors. And as I mentioned, there may be a mirroring component so you or a family member can see themselves and what they need to work on. There may be an issue with the animal hierarchy in the house or even a family dynamic. Regardless of what it is, animal communication can directly ask the animal what is the reason for the behaviors. Dogs may be exhibiting new or ongoing behaviors which may be screaming out to you about an issue that needs to be addressed, and sometimes they are trying to tell you something about themselves and other animals. There may be a relationship or hierarchy issue of dominance in the household. Other times animals may have been through repeated abuse or trauma and may carry a heavy emotional burden or specific fears and sensitivities. And other times, the emotional or behavioral issues are not their own, like I mentioned, but rather they're mirroring somebody in the family to get to see themselves and what they actually need to work on. And animal mirroring, as I mentioned, is a gift of service to a human. If the issue is mirroring, when the person being mirrored works on themselves, your animal's physical or behavioral issues will simply vanish. This seems hard to believe, but I have had many cases like this. If you work on yourselves, if it is mirroring, it's not always mirroring, but if it is, if you work on yourselves, you'll wake up one day and you'll see that the animal's issue is completely resolved without taking them to training, without getting them treatment. I've had this happen many, many times with many clients. However, having said that, your dog may be unwilling to let go of this issue. If you do not take action to help yourself, they will be unwilling. They will keep on mirroring you, and until you address these issues, you're just going to keep on keeping on. And if you want to find out more about animal mirroring in detail, listen to episode 5. Now, let's talk about some common canine behavioral issues. Aggression, things like barking, destructive chewing, food guarding, howling, mounting, humping, mouthing, nipping, and play biting in adult dogs, mouthing and nipping and biting in puppies, separation anxiety, and things like whining. So the important thing that we need to understand from these behaviors and more behaviors, not just the common ones, is that at any time an animal is doing a behavior, I mean, any time, they are doing it for a reason. Animals are very intentional and very direct in their communication and behaviors. So they are in need of some help or trying to get your attention to show or tell you something. So whatever they're doing a behavior, it is for a reason. You can be very sure of this. And for things like traumas, emotional or behavioral issues, I can talk to the dog to find out how they're feeling. I can find out the root cause, whether it's a physical cause or an emotional cause, what they need from you to drop or change the behavior. And then whatever it is, you can be sure that, again, they're doing this for a reason. And just like the physical issues, I can do a remote or in-person pranic healing session. And I do something for behaviors and traumas called pranic psychotherapy. And it's a pranic healing technique, and it helps release emotional or behavioral issues, and it releases trauma also. I can also recommend aromatherapy. I use the Young Living oils and aromatherapy or Bach flower essences, which are really good for emotional things, behavioral things, trauma, and abuse. Now, let's talk about energy healing and chakra balancing. So, if there's an injury, trauma, illness, pain, or a behavior or emotional issues, as I said, I can offer remote or in-person energy healing, pranic healing, and chakra balancing. And it's also called, pranic healing is also called medical qigong. It's called external medical qigong. So this is an ancient healing practice. It's highly effective and a directed healing modality. It's much more specific and directed than Reiki. And if you want to get into the nitty gritty of it, to learn more about pranic healing, listen to episode 10. Sometimes it only requires one session, and I'll read you a couple of stories and testimonials at the end that worked amazing miracles in one session. But of course, if it's a chronic or serious issue that it's been going on for a long time, it may require more than one session. And if it is a mirroring session, I can actually work on the person to help them. And then we can go back and find out if, the animal is happy with what the human has done to drop the behavior, to be willing to drop the behavior. But I can also work on the human. I can help the human. And of course, I've had a lot of great results with healing. And it's actually very, very cost effective compared to expensive diagnostics and treatments. And although a diagnosis is helpful, I do not need this to do a healing session. But as I mentioned, I can help heal physical and health issues and things like pain, illness, injury, as well as traumas, behavioral issues, and emotional issues. Any emotional issues, for instance, anxiety, fears, phobia. And best of all, because it's remote, I can work with your animals from anywhere in the world. And also, they can also be getting veterinarian treatment too. Doing a healing session does not exclude traditional care. You can go get a veterinarian treatment at the same time, do a healing session. So that's just fine. In pranic healing, I can also do a body scan, and I can feel for areas of energy, what we call depletion or congestion, or even areas of overactivation causing imbalances. And I can work on chakra balancing and also cleansing and energizing the physical organs and the body systems. So even though I can do pranic healing without an animal communication session, it's very helpful to do a double session of both the animal communication and pranic healing if you can afford to do so, because I can get a lot more details for the healing session and also for your veterinarian. So if you can afford to do so, it's pretty helpful. It's not, I can still do a pranic healing session, but if it's something which is a disease state where I need to know what's going on, with certain organs, it's really helpful to do both. And it's also helpful to provide the information for your veterinarian for them to give you a treatment or a procedure. I've had a lot of clients tell me the animal communication and the pranic healing is much more cost effective then some diagnostic procedures, and both the veterinarian care and energy healing, like I said, can be done at the same time. So, as we mentioned, animal communication addresses animal mirroring. I cannot stress the importance of this, that you understand mirroring, since you may be doing treatments for your animal when in reality you should be doing treatments or even behavioral training on yourself. So please listen to episode 5 on animal mirroring. And sometimes, again, the dog's issue is not theirs, but rather they are mirroring you or somebody in the family. Typically, mirroring only takes place when you have a close personal relationship with your dog or wolf or other canine. I don't find too much going on with canine caretakers or fosters as far as mirroring. And I just want to mention that mirroring is an intentional act of service to their human to help them see themselves, much like a spouse or partner or child mirrors you. If you have a personal relationship with your animal, they may choose to mirror your behaviors or emotions or physical and health issues, things like injuries, illness, or even a chronic disease. I call this taking one for the team, and they really will. They can go to their deathbed mirroring you. So please, understand, have a deeper understanding of what some of these issues are, okay? I can ask your dog if they are willing to drop the health issue or the behavior or even the emotion if their person works on themselves. But the only way your dog is going to agree to this is that if you're willing to actually take action and work on your own issues. Otherwise, they're completely unwilling to drop the behavior or drop the physical and health issue. Another thing I can greatly help with is to assist in the death and dying process and the dreaded end-of-life decision. If you have an elder or sick dog that is ready to pass, or the veterinarian has recommended that they be euthanized, please book a session. I can do emergency sessions if you let me know that it's an emergency, and can greatly assist making this very difficult end-of-life decision by talking to your dog directly and asking them if they are ready to leave their body. Sometimes they will look very ill. There'll be limbs falling off. I mean, they look like they are ready to go today. And I could ask them if they're ready to leave their body, and they will point blank tell me, absolutely not. I am not ready to leave my body. I am not done with my lessons with my human. Please tell them not to put me down. So I've had this. And so what I ask of you is to please respect this decision. I've had clients that the animal, in no uncertain terms, said, no, I'm not ready to leave, not done with the lessons, and they euthanize them anyway. So I know it's painful and I know it's hard to believe, but please, please respect their decision. And if you need an emergency session, you can go to my website, animals-speak.com. You can go hit the button that says book a session, give me your info, and then you can also text me and say I have an emergency. I sent you the intake form, okay? So I can do that if your vet gives you that 24 hours to decide. And I want to mention something else. So there's something called an exit point. So if we each have a couple of exit points throughout our lifetime, and this is for the humans and the animals. These are points that you can choose to leave your body, and you can take it or not take it. So sometimes you choose to not take it. And I actually have this personal experience where I had an exit point and I chose to stay because I wanted to do more. And your animal can do the same thing. So they may or may not choose, but they have more than one exit point. The exit points are predetermined by the incarnating soul decides when the exit points are going to be. And if they're not ready to leave, I can ask them if they want to receive help with an energy healing. If they could receive help, would they want to stay? So either it could be an energy healing, it could be herbs, it could be aromatherapy, it could be more treatment from the veterinarian. So I'll ask that question. If they could get help, would they want to stay? And then dogs and other canines are super intelligent and know what their body needs a lot of times to even feel better. So a lot of times I can get suggestions from them. So to learn more about help with end-of-life decisions, please listen to episode 6. Animal communication can also help by talking to animals in spirit that have already crossed over. You and your dog may be very bonded and have a close personal relationship with each other, and I know what it feels like. You may be completely devastated by the loss of your best friend. And many people, including myself, have said that the loss of their animal hurt worse than the loss of a parent or a sibling. I was devastated for 13 years when my beloved dog died until I became an animal communicator, and that changed everything for me, especially with the past life sessions. And now that I have the ability to talk to animals and my animal in spirit, and I can act as an animal medium, believe it or not, it's actually easier to talk to an animal in spirit than it is one that has a physical body as far as telepathy goes. I can find out how they are, how their transition was, if they had any pain on crossing, if they wanted to leave, what messages they want to share with you, what messages you want to share with them, what they are doing now, if they're with any soul family, either human or animals, how it looks. I can find out how they'd like to be memorialized and remembered, and if they have anything at all unsaid that they would like to share with you. And I can also ask them if they are coming back to you and get all the details if they're planning on reincarnating back to you. And to learn more about talking to animals in spirit, listen to episode 7. I can also do a past life session to see how your beloved soul animal has reincarnated with you many times. I can do a past life regression with both of you to see the lifetimes that you and your dog or wolf had together and what lessons they helped you with, and any specific issues. If there's a specific life issue that you've had that seems to be a pattern over and over again, or something you can't get rid of, I can work with those lifetimes where you had those issues and how your animal was helping you. So it's pretty amazing and also healing. That's where I got the most healing with my animal that passed. And I can show you the lessons and the patterns and also the promises made from other lifetimes. And the animal or you may have made promises at the end of the life, that they're going to come in and do better in the next lifetime with them. So sometimes, they'll have these aggressive behaviors, or they'll have, some behaviors that don't make any sense. And it comes back from past lives and the promises that they made to you in the next lifetimes. And what led you to work with the soul animal and the canine so closely in this lifetime. So to learn more about past lives, please listen to episode 8. Lastly, I can also help locate lost animals. Keep in mind that not all animal communicators will do this. This is kind of a specialized thing that animal communicators do, some of us. So I do help locate lost animals, and I will talk to the animal directly. This isn't magic. I talk to the animal directly to get explicit details of the animal's whereabouts and, all the senses, and look at their senses through them, through their eyes, through their nose, through their hearing. And I can also use map dowsing to help hone in on a specific area. But I cannot give you an address. To learn more about locating lost animals, listen to episode 9. Now, let me share with you some great stories and testimonials that clients have shared with me. Testimonial 1. So this is a pranic healing session for Bronson, a European Doberman mix who lives in British Columbia, Canada. And Bronson had aspiration pneumonia and bladder and a UTI infection. And if you know anything about, there is a bacteria, I'm pretty sure she was probably testing for this one, that causes pneumonia and UTI. I had that once, and it's a very serious health condition. So most likely this veterinarian was testing for that because it's a really specific antibiotic treatment and course of treatment, so you have to go on. And I personally had this. So I did a pranic healing session the day before he had his follow-up vet appointment. So here's what she had to say. She said, "Mind blown. Last Friday, Bronson's urine was loaded with white blood cells from infection. I did a pranic healing session on Sunday, and his preliminary tests showed no white blood cells on Monday, the day after the healing. According to my vet, my dog had a urinary tract infection and then the aspiration pneumonia. And the urine test showed an infection on Friday, and the vet wanted to wait for the culture to come back before starting antibiotics. And I booked a session with Lowly Jane to perform pranic healing on my dog to clear his infection. Lowly worked on my dog on Sunday, and Monday morning we went back to the vet for another urine test to pick up the antibiotics. Guess what? No infection. Lowly's healing cleared the infection overnight. My vet was baffled. No antibiotics, no more infection, and a happy dog and mama. Please consider booking a pranic healing session with Lowly for you or your animals. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. CC in BC, Canada. The next testimonial is from a client that is in Red Hook, New York, and she had Bosco, a Springer Spaniel mix. And it's an animal communication session that I did for extreme fear, extreme anxiety, and phobias. And this is what she had to say. Wow, the feedback she gave us about our pup's answers to her gentle questions was beyond what I imagined. This led us to understand what the meaning was behind some of his behaviors. She confirmed what I suspected was his perception of his job and his sole purpose. He let her know what was making him feel anxious, what gave him joy, and how he felt about his feline family, what his favorite activities and foods were, and so much more. Lowly was kind and never demanding that he answer, and let him know how safe he was with her, and she would be able to communicate whatever he wanted to his humans. By session 2, he couldn't wait to chat with her, and all of this led to great suggestions about how we could better ease his anxieties, understand what his barks meant, and what he was trying to communicate with us with certain behaviors he was expressing. For those of you wondering if this is a real thing, as Lowly walked me through the conversation with Bosco, there were things he mentioned that she never could have known about, things that only we as a family knew. So many of her behavioral suggestions for us, his humans, panned out. His behaviors had changed, and because we know and now have a better understanding of his needs and his feelings, we now know better what to say and do to assuage his anxiety and what we've been doing correctly all along. We love this dog, and as you all love your animals, we are connecting with him and to each other in a much healthier, gentler, kinder, more loving way, all because of this pup's conversation with this amazing human Lowly, who I met serendipitously on Magic Sands Beach one fine day, that changed our lives in ways I could never imagine, ways that helped this combined pet and human family grow beneficially, personally, and emotionally. SV, Red Hook, New York. The next testimonial is Maddox, a boxer mix who was a foster rescue, and it was for an animal communication session for extreme aggression and lunging during walks. And I do mean extreme. I went for a walk with her and her dog, and the two of us could not hold that dog back. So when I say extreme, I mean extreme. So it turned out so well. Her friends said, "Do you have a new dog? Did you go to behavior training? You have a completely new dog." Like after, we did. It wasn't overnight because I had to kind of retrain her how to rethink in her mind and, about specific issues. But it had such a great result. It was literally like a different dog. So here's what she had to say. "We have appreciated your help and support with training issues and have seen improvements in a very short time. There was a lot to uncover and that I did not know because of you. Maddox is a lot more relaxed with other dogs that he has attacked in the past on walks and on the lanai. I'm developing more trust that he is not going to jump over and run away. And a few friends have also commented that he seems more relaxed. TC, Kailua Kona, Hawaii." Another great testimonial is a dog named Toffee, a shepherd mix, and he had behavioral issues. He was peeing in the house, and he had a lot of anxiety and fear. So this is what they had to say. Thanks to Loli's work with my energetic yet uncertain 19-month-old rescue dog, I have learned so much and developed such a deeper understanding of Toffee's personality and needs. First thing was that I needed to change the name of the animal that the shelter gave him, and then I needed to work with him on a more gentle, understanding basis so we could become a team. I'm so grateful because just after a couple of weeks, Toffee has become happier. His potty training issues have disappeared. He's proudly walking by my side. He has expressed what he thought was his sole purpose to Loli, and now I know this, and I believe I can help him achieve and exceed what he thinks he is capable of. As a result of our work with Loli, Toffee is rising to all occasions, and my cat has become more accepting of him, and we are all so much more settled and emotionally more in sync as a unit. I look forward to communicating with Toffee again later to check in and to see how he perceives himself after I work and implement the findings from Loli's initial communication with him. CS, Simi Valley, California. The next testimonial is an amazing story. It was an end of life decision. So this is a beautiful animal named Logan, who was a Great Dane and has since passed. And they came to me for an end of life decision. It was a mother and a son who, the mother believed in animal communication, the son did not. So they hired me and I did a session with both of them. I talked to both of them on the phone at the same time. And it really, really changed the son's opinion about so many things. So it was such an emotional, beautiful experience with this beautiful being, Logan, the Great Dane. So here's what she had to say. You're an enlightenment, and the animals really need you. Your compassion and patience in letting us share our pain. You made this a lot easier for us and gave us great peace. Not only do you feel it, but you expressed it to reach us on a soul level. It was such a blessing and comfort that you didn't rush us through the process and gave us a sense of security. You made the difficult part feel easier. It's a wonderful feeling and a sense of peace in our heart, like we connected deeper with Logan than in the past 11 years. I was always a non-believer, and you hit the nail on the head with Logan and with the things that only we knew, and you were very thorough. CH and JH, Newcastle, Washington. And at the end of the session, Logan let out this howl that sounded like Scooby-Doo. And I didn't really know that Great Danes make this sound. So I talked to the clients about it, and they shared with me that the creator of Scooby-Doo actually had Great Danes, and he made Scooby-Doo sound like a real Great Dane. So I got the high five from Logan, the Great Dane. It was amazing and beautiful, heart-centered energy that to me felt like when I have my angelic experiences. So this brings us to the end of this amazing episode. I hope I have broadened your awareness of the intelligence and connection with your divine canines and just how extraordinary and helpful animal communication and energy healing can be. Book your animal communication session now. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain, as well as opening your mind, heart, and spirit to your deep connection with your beloved animals. Visit my website at animals-speak.com. And also, I can heal and work with humans. So if you need a healing after the session with your animal, I can do a healing on you. I can also do soul healing and emotional healing with the humans behind the animals also. So I don't leave you high and dry. I don't just say, here's what the animal said, goodbye. I don't do that. So I work with you until the very end of the healing process. I also have upcoming animal communicator training workshops. And for more information on that, again, please visit my website at animals-speak.com and subscribe to my monthly newsletter and events and workshops on the pop-up box when you go to my website. And I only send a newsletter once a month. You won't be spammed every week or every day. So if you get something from me, it has value. It has a free podcast. It has invites to whatever workshops I'm doing. It has some information, and it also has the events that are online and live. So join us next week for episode 15 on animal communication and energy healing for felines. And be sure to subscribe, like, and rate us. As always, love and gratitude for listening to the Lowly Jane Animal Communication and Healing Podcast. Namaste, my friends. This podcast was created, produced, and recorded, researched, and edited by Lowly Jane and is a product of Lowly Jane Animal Communication and Healing.